WTF Happened in 1971 highlights a key moment that drastically shifted our economic past and had a big impact on our present world. So what is the financial wisdom behind this intriguing website? Well, before we get started, welcome to Tales of Titans, the place where business and history come to life. Without wasting any more time, let's dive into the mystery behind WTF Happened in 1971.
The website is WTF Happened in 1971.com. So, what did happen in 1971? Well, on August 15th of 1971, President Nixon went on TV and said, "Today I have directed Secretary Connally to temporarily suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold."
Step back into the vibrant 1970s, an era alive with the sounds of funk music and the sight of vibrant tie-dye fashion. People were sporting afros and leisure suits, engaging in conversations on rotary dial phones, and being captivated by the first home video game console, the Magnavox Odyssey. This period introduced us to iconic films like The Godfather and Rocky, and saw the rise of vinyl records and the boombox. The decade was also marked by the emergence of mood rings, those color-changing accessories that claim to reflect your emotional state, retailing for a few dollars but capturing the fascination of a generation. Much like the recent surge in cryptocurrency interest, the 1970s had its own share of economic shifts, with the energy crisis prompting newfound conservation efforts and financial adjustments. This decade's innovative spirit and economic shifts mirror today's technological and digital transformations, proving that every era has its defining trends and economic markers. Now, exploring the cost of education reveals significant changes since 1971. Back then, the average annual tuition for a private college was around $1,800, while public university students paid approximately $500 per year. Contrast that with today, where private college tuition averages around $35,000 annually, and public universities charge about $10,000 for in-state students. This represents a more than 20-fold increase for private education and a 20-fold rise for the public, far outpacing the rate of income growth. In the realm of entertainment, a movie ticket in 1971 cost about $1.50. Today, the average price for a movie ticket is around $15, a 10-fold increase. Additionally, a loaf of bread, which cost about 25 cents in the early 70s, now averages about $2.50. These examples highlight how various living costs have escalated dramatically, with wages struggling to keep pace, stretching the affordability of everyday life and essentials compared to the past. The story continues when you examine U.S. productivity against our incomes. Ideally, both should increase together, and they did from 1948 to 1972. After that, productivity soared up to 246%, while income growth lagged, rising only by half as much. When looking at income distribution, the bottom 90% saw income growth until 1970, but then it plateaued and even declined, whereas the top 1%'s income began to skyrocket post-1970s. Life really was affordable back in the day, as healthcare was significantly cheaper, with annual costs around $350 per person compared to today's average $11,000. Consumer electronics like TVs have also seen price hikes. A color TV once cost $500, whereas now a high-end smart TV can exceed $2,000. Air travel, once a luxury costing $300 for a cross-country flight, has become more accessible yet pricier, with international trips easily costing thousands. These examples highlight the stark contrast in affordability between the past and present, showcasing the impact of technological progress and inflation on living costs. Inflation has become a focal point due to excessive money printing during the pandemic, leading to an abundance of cash but not enough goods, driving prices up. This situation prompts a significant debate. Should we revert to a stable gold-backed currency, as historical data from the 70s suggested a healthier economy? The ongoing debate in economics is choosing between hard, stable money like gold or crypto and soft, government-regulated fiat money. Advocates for hard money argue it's immune to government-induced inflation. However, they often neglect to mention that a certain level of inflation is actually beneficial. The dilemma then becomes, why do we aim for a certain inflation rate each year? Inflation encourages spending and investment, preventing the economic stagnation that deflation can cause. Consider this: if the price of an electronic is expected to drop significantly soon, you might postpone your purchase. This deflationary effect, akin to Bitcoin's nature, discourages expenditure as individuals hoard currency, anticipating its value increase. This hoarding becomes problematic as the economy needs to expand and more individuals require monetary access, leading to an increased value of the existing money supply, which can further complicate economic dynamics. Wages had been steadily declining in comparison to the economy's total income. Increasingly, the Consumer Price Index, our gauge for inflation, remains stable from 1775 through various conflicts and wars until it skyrocketed in the 1970s. Similarly, the national debt was stable until the 70s when it began to rise. Post-1970s, the personal savings rate in the U.S. dropped, leaving more adults to live with their parents, and incarceration rates also surged. This raises the intriguing question: what exactly triggered these changes in 1971? Was it an external influence, a covert operation, or something else entirely? The real story goes back to the Nixon Shock, when President Richard Nixon ended the Bretton Woods Agreement. This was significant because the U.S. held about 2/3 of the world's gold reserves, putting it in a strong position globally. The journey began with Executive Order 6102 in 1933, making it illegal for the public to own gold to control the gold supply and stabilize the economy. Then came the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944, where nations agreed to peg their currencies to the dollar, itself convertible to gold, making the dollar the global trade currency. This allowed the U.S. to dominate international finance and export inflation. However, the system began to falter as the U.S. printed more dollars than it had gold to back, which led to growing international skepticism. As countries started demanding gold in exchange for their dollars, U.S. gold reserves dwindled. Nixon's response was to detach the dollar from gold entirely, transforming it into a fiat currency. This decision was driven by the need to manage domestic economic issues without the constraints of gold reserves. Nixon's move signaled the end of the dollar's convertibility to gold, shifting the global financial system to one based on fiat currencies, and marked the start of a new economic era in 1971. The issue started with the introduction of fiat currencies, quite different from those backed by commodities. Fiat translates to ruling by decree, implying these currencies are established by government order, relying solely on public trust. Presently, the dollar primarily signifies the amount of debt it represents. The break from the gold standard, which formerly linked the dollar to a specific gold quantity, handed more control to central banks. They gained the ability to issue unlimited money, no longer constrained by the gold reserves, leading to a significant shift in financial power and policy. The issue with a currency that consistently gains value is that people become less inclined to spend, threatening economic activity. To prevent this, inflation is maintained at around 2 to 3% annually, motivating people to purchase now rather than later, as prices will likely increase. This strategy fosters consumer spending, driving innovation and economic growth. Without this approach, we'd see no advancement in products or services. Everything would remain static in price and quality. Linking currency value strictly to a commodity like gold would lead to an inflexible financial system, ill-suited for handling population growth and economic crises that require flexible monetary interventions. While government monetary policy isn't flawless, often leading to overprinting of money, it's a cycle that repeats, evidenced by the recent excessive money printing during the pandemic. Now, we're faced with the task of reducing this excess through quantitative tightening to prevent runaway inflation and keep the economy balanced. The aim is to align money supply with population growth and productivity, avoiding both extreme inflation and a scenario where too much hoarding stifles the economy. Deciding which monetary system is superior is challenging and may not be resolved within a lifetime. However, the current situation calls for a careful balance between encouraging spending and maintaining economic stability. The events of 1971 extend beyond the Nixon Shock. It included the growth of low-cost labor, progress in modernization, global expansion, reduction in regulatory constraints, and a greater corporate push towards enhancing profits through stock buybacks. So, advancements in technology reduced costs, and societal shifts like more women entering the workforce played significant roles. Now, explaining the entirety of 1971's impact is complex, as it involves various facets of money and society. The question isn't just about the events of 1971, but also about how historical financial practices may have suited past economies better and whether today's era requires more adaptable financial solutions. Cryptocurrency, for instance, represents a move towards more flexible, people-powered finance, distancing money control from governmental influence and enabling individuals to shape their own financial destinies. It might not be about finding the best system, but offering choices to tackle different problems. No system is perfect, and perhaps the essence of money is to be a continuous experiment. While some advocate for Bitcoin as a hedge against excessive money printing, it's not the sole solution. Finding the right balance is complex, and maybe it's too soon to determine. And that's all for today, folks. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more amazing content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.